Good to go. Yep, I'm recording. Yep.
Thanks for hanging in there. So I think that you are all here Monday and Tuesday, so you've met me. My name is Pam Bailey, and I'm the academic advisor for international students here at the college. So I'm going to talk about academic integrity today. So it's another bit of a heavy session, so I apologize. We have kind of 2 heavy sessions in a row, but it's quite an important topic. If you're feeling tired or a little sleepy, just stand up and stretch while I'm talking. I don't mind if you do that. I always need to do that, so feel free. So I guess we'll get started. Welcome everyone who is online, and thank you for taking the time to join us as well. And all right, let's get started. So today I'm going to talk to you about academic integrity. This is an extremely important topic. I touched on it a little bit in my presentation on Monday, but today we're going to go in depth a little bit more. So what is academic integrity? It is basically just the commitment to being honest in an academic setting. That's it. It's being honest with your work, with your assignments, and with your exams. It's taking pride in your work and also respecting the work of others. When you're at a college or university, you have to do a lot of assignments. You have to do a lot of research. So you're researching very widely on many topics. And you want to show respect and honor the work that people have done in that field. So that's basically what it is. When you're taking the ideas from another person, you have to acknowledge or show where those ideas came from. That is academic integrity. And it is up to each of you to understand what that means. This is a good start. You're attending this workshop and you're getting a little bit of an understanding of what it is, but it's important to take the time to learn more. I cannot tell you how many times I have students in my office who have an academic misconduct and they've failed an exam, or some have even failed a course, and I hear, oh, I didn't know about that. I hate to say it, I don't want to sound mean, but it is up to you to know about this and to do some more research on yourself, by yourself, sorry. It's very important.
Pam, you may need to turn on the camera.
Oh.
It says there's no video.
Where do I turn that?
So if you press...
Oh, right here?
Yeah, that should be it. And go into Teams. So down the bottom there. And then the camera. So sorry.
Normally it's all day.
Oh, sorry. Oh, it's not.
Always little things. All right. So next, plagiarism. You're going to hear this word a lot from your instructors, especially at the beginning of the class. They're going to talk to you about it. Don't plagiarize. Be careful of academic integrity. I don't want you to be afraid of this word, but just it's an opportunity to learn about this word, okay? Because it's quite important. There are many different types of plagiarism out there. I'm not going to go through all those types today, You can look on the internet, or you can look on our library webpage, has a lot of different types of plagiarism. You'd be surprised about how many different types there are. There are even some that I didn't realize were plagiarism. And I've been doing writing for a very long time. So it's a big thing. But basically, in a nutshell, it is taking the words or the ideas of someone else and using them as your own without giving proper acknowledgement, right? Without showing where they come from. So if you're researching assignments well, you are definitely going to be using a lot of resources that are not your own. They're not, things that aren't coming from your own head. So, and that's a good thing. But you just need to show where you are getting that information from. Okay? So you might ask yourself, how do I know if I'm plagiarizing or if I'm in danger of plagiarizing? So when you are writing an assignment, you want to ask yourself these questions. Did the words or ideas come from a book, a magazine, journal article, newspaper, website, song, TV show, movie, game, email, YouTube video, Instagram post, Twitter comment, or any other medium? That kind of covers it all, right? If your words or ideas are coming from those places, you have to show where they're coming from. Did the words or ideas come from an interview or a conversation with someone? If I had an interview with Erin and later I used what she said in my assignment, I have to show that those words came from Erin. Okay, so very important. Did you use a chart, a drawing, or a photograph? You have to show where they are coming from. Okay, so it's pretty broad. So err on the side of caution all the time when you're thinking about academic integrity. Now, there are many obvious types of plagiarism. I think everyone knows if you are buying or stealing or borrowing an essay or an assignment, whether it's from a fellow classmate or if it's from a website online. There are a lot of websites that do that. We all know that's wrong. Having someone else write your assignment for you, we all know that's wrong. And copying big sections of a book or a journal article or an internet article and then putting it in your essay without saying where it's coming from. I think everyone knows that this is plagiarism. Everyone knows. So we don't want to do that. If you do any of these things, you're not being honest about your work. And you're not learning. You're not going to be able to take pride in what you're doing. And you're kind of wasting your time doing your assignment, right? Getting
The,
audio?
yeah, or the PowerPoint.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Sure what's happening. There.
You should be
So-
able to shared screen.
Yeah.
Let's try sharing again.
Okay. And I can't type in the chat.
And then-
Sorry.
You should be able to.
Oh, hang on a minute.
There it's presenting.
Hang on a minute. I'm just going to press something. This one. Okay. Try now.
Okay. Sorry for those of you who are online and you're not able to see the PowerPoint. We're not quite sure what's happening there. Hopefully you can see it now. So many obvious types of plagiarism, but there are many less obvious types of plagiarism. And this is where students get into trouble, okay? We're having,
That's
going?
not muted. Sorry. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
So this is where students get into a lot of trouble, is when it's not obvious. Many students plagiarize unintentionally because they don't know that what they're doing is actually plagiarism. So this is why it's so important to educate yourself on this topic. And I mentioned this on Monday. Different countries, different cultures, all have different ideas of what academic integrity is and what plagiarism means. The way that we do it here is not necessarily the right way or the best way, but it is the way we do it here, and it's taken very seriously. So you want to learn about how we do it here. When in doubt, cite it. So this word cite, it basically means showing where you got the information from. Anytime you're not quite sure, cite it. All right, so let's look at a couple of examples here. You found a perfect paragraph in a journal article, and you copy and paste it into your essay. You replace some of the original words with synonyms, but you keep the original structure. And you do not say where you got it from. Is that plagiarism? Yes, it is absolutely plagiarism. I've had a lot of students in my office saying that they changed it, they put it in their own words, thinking that that was enough. But it is not. If you got it from somewhere else, even if you've changed it, you have to cite your source. Next one. You put quotation marks around a section of text that you copied directly from your textbook. You put it in your assignment, but you don't cite it, you don't give a reference. Is that plagiarism? Yes, absolutely. So again, I've had students in my office saying that they took it from the textbook, they were accused of plagiarism, they got an academic misconduct on their file, and they said, but it was from the textbook. The instructor knows where I got it from. It's obviously not mine, it's from the textbook. And I put quotation marks around it so they know, they should understand. But no, that is also plagiarism. So be careful about that. You always have to give a reference. And this next one I talked about on Monday, you and your roommate share a computer and you are both taking the same class. You accidentally submit his paper instead of yours. Is this plagiarism or academic misconduct? Yes. And people will not understand. If you go to your instructor and say, this is what happened, this has happened. And both of those students got an academic misconduct on their file, even though it was an accident. Okay. So let's look at a very specific example. So here's a sentence from an academic journal article that I want to use in my essay. Although it is commonly acknowledged that students may plagiarize inadvertently because of their lack of knowledge of citing conventions and poor paraphrasing skills, rather than an intention to deceive, the traditional view nonetheless defines such textual behavior as literary theft that needs to be punished. Pecorari and Petrick, 2014. So very nicely worded, perfectly worded. I wish I could write like that. So I would like to use that. So I change it and I put it in my essay. And I don't say where it's from, but I change it like this. Even though everybody knows that students might plagiarize unintentionally because they don't know how to cite or paraphrase properly, rather than an intention to do wrong, the accepted view says that this kind of behavior is stealing and needs to be punished. So I've changed it
I've put it in my own words. Is this plagiarism? It is on two different levels. Level one, first of all, I don't say where I got it from. So that, first of all, is plagiarism. It's not my ideas. This did not come from my head. I took it from somewhere else. I have to show where it came from. And two, this is what gets people in a lot of trouble. This is paraphrased incorrectly. Okay? It makes sense, but I've used the same structure. I have just changed some words, but the structure is exactly the same. Even if you cite this, you could get an academic misconduct for plagiarism because it's not paraphrased correctly. We're going to talk a little bit more about paraphrasing afterwards, but just this one gets people in a lot of trouble. It's a tricky one. All right, another example. I have found another perfect sentence for my essay, and this time I put quotations around it, and I use it exactly as it's written in the original source. I forgot where I got the quotation from, so I don't cite it. Okay? There is now ample evidence that students may plagiarize unintentionally as a result of uncertainty about writing conventions, what constitutes common knowledge, or limited referencing skills and or L2 resources. Okay, so it's worded exactly the same way. Is this plagiarism? Yes. So again, I sound like a broken record, but I've had students in my office who had this particular situation. They had put quotations around it, and they said, the instructor should know that it's not my words because I put quotations around it. I needed to use this quote because it was so perfect, but I lost my notes. I don't know where it came from. That's not gonna work. You definitely have to keep track of your notes. Okay. And I have to say that I would think this one is one of the ones I really get a lot of. Okay. Is this really important? Seems a little bit extreme that we talk about this as stealing someone else's ideas and that we are so strict about it. It is very, very important here, and I cannot stress enough how much you need to learn about this and double check and get help when you need it. Oh, it's still not working?
It's not, they hear, but they
Oh,
can't
no.
see when they share it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Interrupt on a second.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry,
Do
everyone.
you mind if I
Yes,
back out
yeah,
of this?
go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm trying to fix it.
Okay, so they're not seeing this, hey?
They can hear Pam, but they can't see her PowerPoint.
Oh, okay, so you need to hit the share
We
content?
did.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. Yes.
Is there sound in it? Yeah,
Yes, we did
okay.
that.
And we will do
While we're waiting.
Yep.
this.
Yep, that's what we did.
We have 2 people on the list. So raise your hand. Who wants to go seeking treasures? Please, please, please.
Are they able to see that now? Because we have the red
We're
bar.
the only ones getting prizes today. What was
the problem?
It is a bit of appetite.
I guess the PowerPoint wasn't being shared, so.
Because it was strange. We shared it.
Is it coming up for them now? Are you able to see?
It says better now. So
Oh,
you can
okay.
Okay.
see.
And while we're having this pause in our time, everybody here, I know that
Yes.
Aaron had announced
Okay.
that we're supposed to go
Great.
to another room, but
Yeah,
that's
strange.
exactly what we did.
exactly what we did.
So yeah, just got to make sure that you have the share on. So if it has the X, it means you're currently sharing. If it has the up arrow, it means it still needs to be shared.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not too sure what would have
Oh my
did it,
gosh.
but
Because I share my
Okay.
screen every day with
Yeah.
students.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's really weird, but thank
okay.
you.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
no problem.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks. Sorry, interrupt.
Sorry, everyone who's online. I do have this presentation recorded. So those of you who, not just this recording, but those of you who are online and missed the PowerPoint slides, I can direct you to where you can watch this online. Actually, it's in the Jumpstart. It's in the International Jumpstart. So you can just watch it again, what you've missed. Okay, next. Okay. So academic misconduct and consequences. Every institution has a student conduct policy. Some of them have a specific academic misconduct policy or an academic integrity policy. Ours is policy 2.4.4, student conduct. I tried to show this last time. That doesn't work either, but that's okay. That's all right. There are a couple of sections in that really long, boring, detailed policy at the end, particularly section B1, I wanted to show you, and Appendix A. Right? Read those through. I had hoped to show you up here, but I can't. So there's examples of plagiarism and responses to that. Simply, the first time, you might have to repeat an assignment or a test. You might get a reduced grade. You might get a grade of 0, or you might just get a written or verbal warning. It really depends on the severity of the incident, they like to call it. But next time, or the second time, or the third time that you have an academic misconduct, you could fail the course. That's possible. You could get withdrawn from your program, not be able to register for classes, and in extreme cases, if you've done it many times and it's very serious plagiarism, because there's different levels of severity, you could get suspended. Okay? So take some time, look through that exciting policy if you can. So why do people plagiarize if it's so serious? Why do people do it? It's actually really understandable. It really is, especially, I think, for international students or for students coming directly from high school. Everything is so new. You are learning your class content and you're learning academic English at the same time, if English is your additional language. As I mentioned on Monday, there is a thing called learning shock. So you've got culture shock and learning shock happening at the same time. And that's a lot. That's brain overload. So some students, unfortunately, might resort to plagiarism with their assignments. Some students have pressure from family. And again, quite often with some international students, you're far from home, your culture might be very, very different. Your parents might not really understand what you're going through here, and you have a lot of pressure, perhaps financial pressure, perhaps other types of pressure. So you feel that you need to succeed due to that pressure. You're working part-time. Greg mentioned during the presentation previously that being a student is a full-time job. So if you are working your 20 hours a week, as you are allowed to work as international students, if you're a full-time student, that's a lot of time. So yeah, it's difficult. Writing an academic assignment is very new and difficult, particularly in your additional language. I have an additional language, and I'm pretty conversational in it. I can communicate pretty well, but I can barely write a coherent paragraph in it. And if I had to write an assignment in my second language, oh my gosh, that would be extremely intimidating, very, very hard. So I understand that it is challenging. So keep in mind that we're here to help, all right, and get the help that you need. You might also be learning how to take classes online. Okay, there's a lot of you are taking online classes, and that's a whole different kind of stress. So yeah, taking more time. And over here in the corner, it's supposed to say in the bubble, you're still learning the rules of academia. All right, being in an academic culture is a new culture in itself. So if you're feeling overly stressed, don't forget to get help. Don't resort to an academic misconduct or a plagiarism, no matter what. Get help beforehand. So I talked about some of these a little bit on Monday as well. These are some of the things that go through students' minds that I've heard when they're in my office for an academic misconduct. I hear that this is common knowledge and it's meant to be shared. If you ask 100 people a question and 98 of them say the same answer, that's probably common knowledge. Right? The sky is blue. Canada's a big country. Winter is cold here. Things like that. That's common knowledge. Everybody knows those things. Things that you find on the internet are not common knowledge. So I've had many students in my office say, I got this from a free source on the internet. I should be able to use it. You must cite your sources, even if you get them from the internet. Everything's on the internet these days. I can't say it better. It's safer to use the words of a published author. I can't say it better either. If I'm reading a journal article, I definitely can't say it better than what they have written. But you can try. Right? You can try to use your own words. You can. It's just probably not going to be perfect, especially if English is not your first language, but that is okay. Instructors are happier if you have some grammatical errors, or if you have some awkward word choices, or the flow of the essay doesn't go very well. They're okay with that. They understand that English might not be your mother tongue, but they will not understand academic misconduct and plagiarizing. If I try to change the words, the meaning will change. This is a tricky one, especially again, if you're doing it in your additional language. It is difficult to paraphrase something correctly. I have a hard time doing that, and I've written a lot of essays in my life, and I hate paraphrasing. I absolutely hate it. It's hard, but you need to work through it and learn how to do it. It's too hard to use my own words. It is. It's very hard to use your own words, but try your best. And your instructors know that you are not academic experts in your field yet. They're not expecting you to be. All right, so just use your own words as much as you can and support with resources and cite. And the last one over there in the corner that you can't see, I can't change the words of a scholar. It would be disrespectful. But you can. You absolutely can change the words of a published author. Okay? You just have to show where you got it from. All right. So I feel that this whole plagiarism thing is like playing a new game when you don't know all the rules. You know the rules from back home and the way things are there, but the rules here might be different. And instructors assume that you know these rules already. So quite often in your classes, they will not spend a lot of time showing you how to not have an academic misconduct. They don't have time. There's so much that they need to cover. So they assume that you know already, or that you're trying to learn more. So you need to be responsible to learn these rules, and they're not super easy, unfortunately. It does take a little bit of time and effort. So just keep that in mind. It's important. It's your education. It's your future. All right, so how can you avoid plagiarizing? You can do these things. You can practice good note taking. Quote, summarize, paraphrase, cite, practice good time management, and use the college resources. Note taking. You want to keep track of your research. I highly, highly recommend notebooks like this that you can get from the dollar store here. There's even cheaper ones than this that you can get. Some of them have just 30 pages in them. Some of them have 100 pages in them. Buy a whole bunch and use one for each major assignment. I know you're looking at me and saying, okay, I don't take handwritten notes anymore. A lot of students do a lot of copying and pasting these days from the internet, but handwriting your notes is still proven to be one of the best ways for learning and for keeping track. So you want to make sure when you're using a journal article or something from a textbook or from the internet, write the title, author, name of the journal, page number, and then all your notes from that particular article. Keep track of it all. If you forget where you found the information, you can't use it in the assignment. And I actually had this happen to me recently. I had to do a report for my boss, and I had this really great information that I had written down and I wanted to use in the report, and I didn't take proper notes, and I could not find the article. I was looking through all my articles trying to find it, and I couldn't, and I just didn't use that because I couldn't. When you're writing notes, read your source many, many times. Think about it, and then write in your own words your notes. And then that will help you when you write your essay, when you use that source for your essay. Keep a notebook for each assignment, talked about that. Don't copy and paste everything from the internet directly into your assignment. A lot of students do that, and that's where they might get in trouble with plagiarizing. So take the notes in your own words and then use those words in your assignment with a citation. Okay, quoting. You want to use quotes in your assignments and your essays, but you don't want to overuse them. You don't want an entire assignment to be just a series of quotations from different sources. It's good to use them, but use them sparingly. And when you do quote, you have to use exact words and punctuation from your source. You cannot change anything. And really, try to always use your own words, but if the words of the author in particular, the exact words are important to use, those exact words, use a quote. That is completely acceptable. You need to use quotation marks properly. Okay, so there's a method for that. And you must cite your source, even if you have quotations around it. Something I forgot to mention here, short quotations and long quotations are treated differently. So that's something else that you need to be aware of. I wish I could go through everything, but I can't. Yes.
For essays, how much percentage are you allowed for similarity in that?
Sorry, how much?
The percentage, how much in an essay our source is max, so a percentage it shouldn't go over in terms of like an entire essay.
So you mean how, so if you have a 5-page essay, how many words can be from sources or from quotations?
So overall referencing in the essay, what's the percentage it shouldn't go over in terms of similarity to sources?
That's a very good question. That's an excellent question. I don't think, off the top of my head, I don't know that there is a certain percentage. With instructors here, they're generally looking for you to have your own argument, to present your own thesis statement and support that with sources. So coming from my background in teaching, yeah, I don't think I can say a certain percentage. Yeah, I don't think so.
Quite a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
So you
But
have your ideas, and then you find the sources which support the ideas that you are portraying. So quite a lot of your essay is.
it's definitely going to be a lot. You're going to have your own words to talk about your argument, and then you're going to bring in a quotation to support that argument. Then you're going to go into another topic, and you're going to bring in an idea to support that topic. So it's bringing in a lot. So a fair amount, definitely, yeah. But no exact percentage that I know of. Very good question. So summarizing. You want to learn how to summarize properly so that you don't plagiarize. Summarizing is usually when you take something big. Like you might summarize an entire 20 or 30-page article into a couple sentences to support your idea or your argument. And it is briefly outlining the main points in your own words. It's very short, much shorter than the original source. You don't add any of your own ideas. You can put it in your own words, but you don't add any of your own ideas. Don't change the author's meaning. So if I wanted to take, if I read an entire journal article and the basic idea of what they said, I want to use that to support my argument, I can summarize that article in my own words, but then I have to say where I got that from. So you must cite your source. Oh, paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is awful. It really is. It's a tough one. Not going to lie about this. This gets students in a lot of trouble. Generally, when you paraphrase something, you're not paraphrasing a whole article. You're paraphrasing a paragraph or a sentence or a few sentences. And you're putting them into your own words using a similar number of words as the original source, But it's very, very different from summarizing. And it's not simply changing a few words. Like my example at the beginning of the presentation, I kept the same structure and I changed just a few of the words. That is not good enough. You need to read your paragraph, you need to think about it, and then without looking at that original source, you write what you want to say. So if you are not looking at the original source, you're probably not going to have the same structure. So it's probably going to be different. And if you've thought about it, you understand the meaning. So that's how you paraphrase. It's a little bit like mental gymnastics. It's extremely challenging. What I would suggest is if you are paraphrasing something and you're not sure if you've done it correctly or not, you can take it to the writing lab. You can take it to the writing tutor. You can ask your instructor specific questions. You can say, this is what I just tried to paraphrase. Is this okay? And they will absolutely help you with that. Or me. If you're in an appointment with me and we've talked about everything that you need to talk about and you have a question about that, you can ask me as well. That's completely fine. When you're paraphrasing, you must cite your source. So cite, cite, cite. So citations are very important in academic writing. I keep on saying this word over and over and over again. You must use them whether you're quoting, summarizing, or paraphrasing. We use citations to give credit to the authors of your original source. I like to look at it as someone has given you the gift of their knowledge, and you can show respect to them by using a citation. It also shows your reader, your instructor, that you've read widely on the subject and that you have used sources from experts in the field to support your new ideas. And they also help the reader to find the information that you've used. You might use an article that your instructor has never even read before, and they like what you've said. They like that argument, and they want to find that article and read it themselves. So citations can help with that. How do I cite? There are different citation styles for different disciplines. A couple of the common ones are APA style, MLA style, Chicago style, but there are others. So very important that you find out which style to use for your discipline. Talk to your instructor about it. Find the research guide from the library or online. Very easy. You can just type in APA citation and you're going to find it and learn about that style. You will need to cite your sources twice. Once as an in-text citation, and then again at the end of your assignment. So they can see where you've taken the information in your assignment, then they can go to the end and say, oh, there's that article. Two different places. They must match. I've had students in my office who had citations in their text, but not at the end. They got an academic misconduct. First of all, I'm not the one giving the academic misconducts, just so you know. I just see people in their office after they've been given one. And sometimes I've seen students who had their source at the end of their assignment, but it didn't match anything in the in the middle of their assignment. So it's a 2 for 2, goes together. Okay. So what does a citation look like? So here's an example of an in-text citation using a quotation with APA style. This is the style that I'm most familiar with. So Pecorari and Petrick, 2014. So you often have the names of the people who've written the article very close to the date in parenthesis. Pecorari and Petrick suggest that there is now ample evidence that students may plagiarize unintentionally. Blah, blah, blah. We already read that one. Page 12. So I have the quotation marks around the exact words that those two authors said. And I show the page number and the date. So now my instructor, if they want to look for that article, at the end of my essay, I have a references page with a list of all of the sources that I used. So they can see, oh, there we go. Pecorari and Petrick, 2014. That's where they got that information. I can find that. I can go to page 12 and I can see that exact quote on page 12. Now, when you see this references page, people are very, very, very particular about writing your reference in the correct form. A lot of students are shocked at how fussy we are about this. It has to be exact. So if you're using APA style and you're using a journal article, you find out how to cite a journal article in APA style. If you're using a textbook, how to cite a book. If you're using an internet source or an internet article, there are different ways to cite depending on the different sources. It's very complicated. So just make sure you read about it. And don't expect to remember. When I have to write something and use this, I've written a master's thesis. I've written tons of essays. I can't remember how to do this. No way. I have to look up each particular thing before I write it. Okay, so using your own ideas and your own words. As you were asking about how much should you use, your assignment should be, you're often trying to prove something and argue something. So you create a thesis in your own words and you try to develop as much of that as you can in your own words using different sources. So take the time to explore your topic. Don't try to do your assignment the night before, because you're not going to have enough time to explore your topic. And particularly if you're doing this in your additional language, it's not going to be a good outcome, I guarantee. Right? I see it a lot. Using your own ideas also shows that you understand what you've been researching. Okay. It is a lot of hard work. There's nothing, you're not going to get around that. So I always just like to say, take the pride in your work. And you're here, it's a privilege to be able to be a student. And you have this time right now, so take the time and really learn. We have great instructors here, and they're happy to share their knowledge. So take advantage of the time and really learn your material. How can you do it all? Practice good time management. I have a time management session on Friday to talk to you about how you can do that. Don't leave assignments to the last minute. We're all guilty of it. I've done it. I'm sure you've done it, Erin. We've all done it. No? Not really? There we go. Very good. So students often turn to plagiarism when they don't have enough time. So keep that in mind. And use the resources that are available to you. We've got the library has a page particularly on academic integrity. So take a look at that, become more knowledgeable about that. We've got the writing lab. We've got a professional English tutor. Both of those people are actual college employees that you can see here. You can get to know them, Penny and Alberta. They're both very experienced. You can take any questions you have about academic integrity, you can ask them. Right Away is another source. Workshops, there is tons of stuff out there. You've got your instructors to ask, academic advisors, myself. There are other academic advisors, you can ask them, and online resources. There are so many online resources about academic integrity. You can learn how to cite, how to paraphrase, how to summarize, how to quote. Anything that you want to know, you can find it. So take the time and learn a little bit about this so that you don't get in trouble. I don't want to see any of you in my office for any academic misconducts. And that's it. Any questions about that?
Resources. Is there a limit of assignment we can send to the writing lab, or a limit of appointments we can have with the professional?
Thank you, Sarah. That's an excellent, excellent question. So for the writing lab, I believe it is 3 times a week. I'll have to check on the exact number for per assignment. So what you can do, like Avery and Katie and Greg were mentioning in their presentation, you can do a rough draft and then bring it to Penny in the writing lab. Actually, with Penny in the writing lab, you send her your instructions for your assignment, as well as your first draft before your assignment, or before your appointment, sorry. She will read it so that she's ready in the appointment to give you feedback. So you can bring your first draft, take it home, make revisions, do a second draft, bring it in again, take it home, make revisions, bring in your third draft or your final copy. So yeah, absolutely, numerous times. Right Away, this that's the provincial service here. That is not with someone specifically at the college. I used to work for that, so I know that one very well. 3 times. So each assignment you have, you can submit 3 times. So you submit it, and it takes anywhere from 24 to 72 hours to get it back. So time management. You want to give yourself lots of time to be able to do this. Academic advisors, there's absolutely no limit. You can make an appointment with me as many times as you want, as many times a day as you want, totally, anytime, completely fine. Oh yeah, well that's the thing. We do tend to be quite busy, but and that's a good point, Becky. I would really suggest making some appointments throughout the semester ahead of time. Make one in October, make one in November, make one in December. If you don't need it, you can cancel it, but you might have some questions you might want to talk about, and then you have the appointment. Any other questions? Okay, great. Well, that was a That was a long 2 hours for you. Sorry about that.